What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. Today it is more championship score predictions for match day 11 for the championship. After this game week, we've got an international break, so football has been going in all sorts of speeds and directions. We've got accelerating amount of games, and we see football stop briefly and then it's back accelerating fast as ever. I feel like I'm actually a bit grateful for an international break just to catch a breath, because it's been so exhausting keeping up with all of these games, but it should keep the level of excitement we all have. Updates for the Prediction League will be on the community tab ASAP, so keep your eyes on the community tab, and the best way to do that is to hit that like button, and please hit the subscribe button as well to see all of my content, and to make sure you don't miss anything from me. Switching on the notification bell will mean that you get notified every time not only I make a video, but also when I make a community post as well, where I could be posting the update of the Championship Prediction League. So make sure that's all turned on. That will all really be appreciative, guys, and thank you as always for the terrific support for the channel. But without any further ado, let's start predicting these weekend's games. So the first game to predict today is Swansea going up against Hull City, a peculiar choice for an early kickoff. This is taking place on the Saturday at 12:30. Both teams have, unfortunately for them, suffered a defeat in midweek. Swansea by a devastating last-minute goal conceded right in stoppage time. Rida Kadra getting the only goal in that game. And I've got to say, Swansea had some good chances actually, and I think Swansea have definitely improved, and I think at home they do look slightly better. And they do have the attacking players there. They've just were uncharacteristically not very clinical in that moment. Hull, on the other hand, I'm a little bit worried about them at the moment. They are going through a little bit of a tough patch of form at the moment. They lost recently against Stoke City by 3-0, and they've now suffered their 4th defeat in 5 games, so they definitely need to work on some things going forward. I see Swansea, for me, being the team more and confident. Hull have got some quality players that can hurt this Hull City side, but on the whole, looking at how they've played recently, I think I'm going to back Swansea. They've not won many games this season, so it could be a bit of a risk this, but I'm going to back the home team to get something. I'm going to say a 2-0 victory to Swansea. I think they might scrape it past Hull, to be honest. I'll go for a 2-0 win to Swansea. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, guys, if you want to get involved in the Prediction League, the best way to do it is to comment your score predictions also in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Birmingham versus Coventry, a bit of a local derby between Birmingham and Coventry there. Obviously, they've got a bit of a history with Coventry having to ground share with Birmingham's home stadium at St Andrews for quite a fair bit of the season. Coventry having a really bad start to the season with only 2 points, you know, in the amount of games that they've already played so far this season. Birmingham, who looked like who had a really bad start, have turned a very small corner, if that, because they've actually gone through a little bit of some consistent form right now. They've managed to win back-to-back games, and because of that, Birmingham are now up to 14th place. It could send them crashing down to earth, though, if they do lose to Coventry, where Coventry have not won a single game so far this season. But for some reason, I have a sneaky feeling that Birmingham, if they continue giving Scott Hogan the amount of opportunities he was giving them, and the fact that Birmingham are scoring more goals, you can see maybe John Eustace is now implementing exactly what he wants with his Birmingham team to be a bit more of a free-scoring team. I think they'll get past this Coventry side, because Coventry defensively, literally a hot knife through butter. It's not really good whatsoever. You know, they are really penetrable. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Birmingham. I think both teams will concede, but I think Birmingham will have the better of it. So I'm going to say 2-1 Birmingham. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Burnley versus Bristol City. Now, Bristol City having a tough couple of games coming up, and Bristol City did lose away from home against second place Norwich. But it was a 3-2 defeat, and I'd argue, looking at the attack momentum, that Bristol City actually looked better for most of that game. The thing is with Norwich, and I'll give them, a bit of a benefit of the doubt for it, that Norwich have just got the attacking players, and when they're confident, they are just as clinical as any team in the Championship ever. So I'll give them a little bit of a break with that. But against this Burnley team, where I dare say for Burnley, very, very recently, I don't think they've really been as good as they've been. They've only won 2 games in their last 6 matches, actually. Yes, they've been unbeaten in that time, but even with that, you could say they were a little bit fortunate with their performance, that they even got a draw against West Brom. I think against Preston, I think a draw was a fair result. Going to this game where I think a Bristol City side, despite them, losing their last game, that I think they're consistently getting some great attacking performances in, I think they can hurt this Burnley team, So as a prediction, unless the defence for Burnley have a complete masterclass, I actually think Bristol City might edge this one. I'm going to go for more shocks this weekend. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to Bristol City. Maybe an unexpected result, but what midweek has proven in particular of the Championship is that unexpected results just happen all the time. So I'm going to predict one here. So I'm going to go 2-1 Bristol City. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Huddersfield versus Cardiff. Of course, it would be the first game since Huddersfield have parted ways with Danny Schofield. For me, it never really was going to work out. It was pretty much an opportunity given way too soon to a young manager, and with the pressures that they have and just the negative morale and just coping with them being this close to being a Premier League team, I think that's naturally affected the mentality of that whole team, and they've not put enough of a graft in. I saw Wigan work 10 times as hard as Huddersfield, in my opinion. I think you've got great individual players, Huddersfield, but as a team, it sucks right now. You really need a figurehead, to go in to really reunite these players again and make them play like a team again that have confidence. David Wagner is the favourite as of recording, which it'll feel really weird to see a reunion with him, and he's achieved a little bit outside of Huddersfield, but whether it's the right decision, I don't know if I personally would want to see his reputation tarnished potentially, because I think this is going to be a very difficult job for him. As for Cardiff, they had a really difficult run of form, but they actually picked it up with a brilliant win over Middlesbrough. I've got to say, that first half performance when they were 3-0 up, absolutely incredible. That third goal from Perry Ng, unbelievable teamwork goal into that. And if they can actually play with that same sort of style, I think they can carve open Huddersfield pretty easily there, honestly. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a draw. I think there'll be a small bounce for the fact that there's change to be ahead, and I think the players will naturally thrive with that. But I think Cardiff will get something as well. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. So I'm thinking those teams will cancel each other out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Luton versus Blackburn. So Luton having a pretty tough start to the season by all accounts, really. They've really struggled to win as many games as they have done. They also threw a lead twice against bottom of the table Coventry. Are there going to be question marks of Luton Town this season? Maybe the expectation is really settling into them now, and now they're just not quite hitting the same grounds as they have done at the start of last season at least. They face a team just like Blackburn, where I think they are one of the most peculiar teams. They've had 5 wins and 4 defeats. There's no in-between with this Blackburn team. You either get an unbelievable performance rather than a really bad performance. There's really no in-between. And honestly, I do think Blackburn play much better at home. I think away from home, I'm still yet to be convinced. Apart from that 3-0 win they had against Swansea in Game 2 of the season, all their other away games have been pretty catastrophic, to be honest. And Luton at home, I think, are a little bit better too. And I think Luton will look at this, and Nathan Jones will not like that his team is, through the lead twice. He'd want to look at this game as a must-win game. As a prediction, I have a slight feeling Luton will edge this one. I think another unexpected result, which I'm hoping might go my way in the Predictions League. I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Luton Town. Let me know, guys, what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Millwall versus Blackpool. Both teams in a bit of an inconsistent run of form right now. Both are in the mid-table position, but you can arguably say for half that they are in the lower part of that mid-table position. One thing that I was praising Millwall for pretty much all season was their immaculate home record, but they only go and squander and lose their first home game of the season by losing against Queen's Park Rangers, and that's their second defeat at home this season as well. So in their last 3 home games, they've had 2 defeats and only 1 win, which was against Cardiff. So Millwall, I don't know what's going on with their form right now, but they're really struggling at the moment. I think the signings had a great start, but now all of a sudden, now there's the hard slog of a championship starting to settle in. It's really difficult to play with flair and at your best every single game, and I think Millwall are slowly but surely finding out, especially for their new players at least. Blackpool, I've seen them play just now against Rotherham, and they, lost pretty convincingly 3-0 in the end. Blackpool have not been completely humiliated too many times this season, but this was like one of the few games where I saw them get completely battered. In terms of how they played, in the first half, they conceded that goal from Ogbene, and it was pretty even-ish. I'd say Rotherham may have just edged it. In the second half, Blackpool played a lot more of the ball, but what concerns me is how little they really tested Johansson in goal. They only had one shot on target, I'd like to say, for the whole game, and Rotherham had 4, and 3 of them were goals. So leaky at the back, not taking enough chances going forward. It wasn't a great performance by Blackpool and Appleton, I won't lie. It was, a bit disappointed with them, to be honest. But I think against a Millwall team who they themselves are also struggling, I think naturally both of these sides will not really get a result they want, and that is a draw to cancel each other out. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game, I think. I just personally think that both of these teams have just not got the competitive edge to get a win. So I'll go for 1-1. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Norwich versus West Brom. I think this one's going to be a really good game, I think. West Brom are currently top of the league when it comes to XG. Norwich, I think, are third place when it comes to XG. So both these teams like to score goals, but both are completely polar opposite ends of the table. And you can arguably say Norwich actually had that in their first 3 games, when they lost 2 games and drew 1 game where they had the best XG, and then all of a sudden it takes one lucky performance and then bang, they're, going through a really good winning streak. I think it's 6 wins in a row for Norwich City there. So they're doing really, really well. And West Brom have only won 1 game so far this season, unfortunately for them. And it was that 5-2 victory against Hull City. And they've lost actually for the first time in quite some time. They lost in their recent game against Birmingham 3-2. I'm really worried about West Brom, to be honest with you there. And if they don't get anything close to anything against Norwich, I think they'll be in trouble too. I think Norwich away is going to be a very difficult game for many championship teams this year. But I think a team like West Brom, with the players they've got, they are one of the few teams for me on paper that could get something against this Norwich team. But I think confidence really speaks volumes. And I think Timo Pukki especially has grown into his own a little bit now. I think that's 4 goals in his last 2 games. So I think Norwich will win this one, but not by much. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Norwich here. Let me know what you think of that score prediction in the comments down below. And let me know whether Steve Bruce is going to get given more time, potentially, if they do lose out. The next game to predict is Preston versus Sheffield United. I'm a bit puzzled with this one, to be honest, because something sees like a 0-0 draw, to be honest, like a really low-scoring game. But then, on the other hand, I see either Preston, taking one chance and then going riot. But then Sheffield United, for what they've been able to do this season already, has been absolutely spectacular. The amount of consistency that they got so far this season, with only losing 1 game, which is at the opening game of the season. So they are unbeaten, Sheffield United, in their last 8 games, which they've done really well to stretch that unbeaten run to that amount of games. Preston, though, have not conceded many goals. They actually only scored their first home goal actually of this season, which was their recent 1-1 draw with Burnley. So I am a bit worried about the lack of goals, but in terms of only goals conceded, they have not conceded many goals at all, if any. They've actually only conceded 2 goals so far this season. They conceded their first goal at home, which of course was that 1-1 draw, also with Burnley as well. I do think Sheffield United, though, are a different kettle of fish this year. I know they've got over 10 injuries right now, which is incredible, but Sheffield United still have a really good squad with those players on the injury table. I think they might edge out. I think if Sheffield United score early, I think they'll get a comfortable win. But if it stays 0-0, I think Preston will grind out the typical Preston 0-0 draw. As a prediction, I'm going to go for Sheffield United to score quickly. So, therefore, I think it's going to be a comfortable 2-0 victory to Sheffield United. But I would not be surprised to be wrong on this one. I think this one can particularly see an upset potentially being thrown in. So I'll go 2-0 Sheffield United. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is QPR versus Stoke City. Now, I really want to see goals in this game. QPR, who managed to get a victory over Millwall, scored 2 goals in midweek. It's that combination again of Chris Willock and Ilias Chair. Ilias Chair getting 2 assists for QPR as well, definitely being the main instrumentation, with that win. And Stoke City managed to get a really good win on their hands with Alex Neil. They get a 3-0 victory over Hull City. And is this really going to be the beginning of Stoke managing to climb up the table? We're just going to have to wait and see. But I'm thinking with this sort of manager and momentum he can give this Stoke team, I think the right things are now being played with Stoke. I've got a little bit of confidence of them to get a result. And QPR on the whole have been a little bit hit and miss with their results and not been very consistent with him. So as a prediction, I'm going to go for QPR after winning so well. They'll lose this one. So I'm going to go for a mad one, a 3-2 away victory to Stoke. I see goals in this game, so I'm hoping that they're going to deliver that and not a 0-0 draw, but knowing me, that's probably what's going to happen. But let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Watford versus Sunderland. This is really exciting because Watford, I think right now, are going through a little bit of a tough period of their season a little bit. They're in a small winless run right now, which has seen them fall down all the way in 10th. Only 1 win picked up in their last 6 games. And Watford really do got to be careful, otherwise they will start to lose track in terms of the top 6. They still are within only 1 point out of it, but it only takes like 2 or 3 more games of not being able to win a game, and then they're going to really start having alarm bells. They face a Sunderland team where they've really been peculiar, to give you the right word, under Tony Mowbray so far this season. So with Tony Mowbray in charge, you get mixed results. If anything, they actually got more wins with Tony Mowbray than defeats. 2 wins and 1 loss so far for Sunderland with Tony Mowbray in charge. And that 1 defeat was the 1 game I did watch Sunderland, which was that 1-0 defeat to Middlesbrough, where I actually still think they were really competitive in that game. I think this game actually is going to be very similar, but if Watford do score first, I think Watford might cope and I think they'll get a win. But if Sunderland score first, I think this is going to be very interesting to see if Watford can respond. I'm going to go for a very similar scoreline that it was between Middlesbrough and Sunderland, and I don't know why. I think Watford may look at this game thinking, okay, that 2-0 defeat against Blackburn was not acceptable. Their home record's been generically very, very good, so I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory to Watford, but I think it'll be very tight and very, very cagey. That's how I see the game panning out, so I don't think there'll be many goals. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Next game to predict is Wigan versus Reading. Both teams actually right up there in the table. Wigan could even find themselves in the top 6 if they beat Reading. Now, Reading did manage to lose their first home game in midweek, and it was a poor one as well, to lose 3-0 against Sunderland in the end. And Reading away from home have been far from convincing, to be honest. They managed to win 1 of their away games, but their other 3, they have had a defeat. And honestly, they've only scored 1 goal away from home in those 4 games as well. So I don't see Reading being a team that scores many goals, but Wigan at home have not been really too great either. And in fact, Wigan at home have not won at home yet. They're one of the few teams who have not won a single game at home so far, with 3 draws and 1 defeat. So something tells me that Wigan like drawing at home, and therefore, in my prediction, whilst Reading have not scored many goals, I actually think they will get a goal here, but I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I think both these teams will cancel each other out and share the points. I'll go for 1-1. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. Last game to predict is Middlesbrough versus Rotherham. This is a huge, huge game. So this is a late kickoff on the Saturday. I might do a watch along. It depends where I'm going to be around that time. But I am intrigued, really, to be honest, to see the outcome. Middlesbrough in their last couple of home games have been relatively good, but then they lost their first home game of the season, losing 3-2 to Cardiff. I just can't get my head round Middlesbrough this season so far. Likewise with West Brom, created so many chances and opportunities in XG, and they're just not taking it right now. And right now, they've really been punished for it. I have a feeling, to be honest, whilst Rodrigo Mendes, I think, is a good player, I think they're lacking that 20-goal-a-season striker to really take them to the next level. And they're conceding goals in very silly ways as well. So I think overall Middlesbrough maybe have been a bit overrated and overlooked a little bit by all of us predictors, unfortunately. I think we've expected them to be a little bit more defensively compact with Chris Wilder, but maybe the squad's not capable of it, unfortunately. Rotherham are most definitely capable of a defensive performance because they defended very well against Blackpool when they had the small moments of attack in the wide areas there. And they have a game plan, they stick to it, and it gets them results. It's why they've only lost one game so far this season, and it's why Rotherham are within touching distance of the top 6 around this stage of the season as well, likewise with Wigan. I honestly think Rotherham could get something here. Middlesbrough at home generically have been really good though, so as a prediction, I'll compromise and therefore give them a 1-1 draw and say that both teams will share the points. I can't predict Rotherham to win, even though I really do think they really can win, because I think Middlesbrough at home, on the whole, have been really good. So I'm going to go for a 1-1. Let me know, guys, what you think of that in the comments down below. So, guys, that is my predictions done for the Championship, Match Day 11. Make sure, guys, you comment your predictions as well, so you guys have a chance to enter the Prediction League. Now, I'll have to wrap it up for today, unfortunately, in terms of the Prediction League and this video today. If you guys enjoyed it, please give the video a like. It just tremendously helps the channel. Please do hit that subscribe button. It really does help. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. And please also share the channel as well. That also helps too. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary every song in this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.